Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Gritty Hour. I have a very special guest all the way from the UK today, John Lumgair, who's written an animated sitcom. Would that be the best way to describe that, John?
It's close enough. So I've got a writer I'm working with, so I don't want to totally take the credit.
Gotcha. Called Jazz Cow, which is a resistance to the algorithm and censorship, I think, too, right?
Yeah.
So it's a very interesting animation you got going on. Tell our listeners a little bit about it.
So yeah, you've got Jazz Cow and his bunch of creative and misfit and weirdo friends, and they just want to live a quiet life, play their music, have fun, and read books, do real things, spend time in real relationships, and play their music. And then the world of Pop World, which is his nemesis, Dr. Pop, runs, and they're bringing in they're encroaching on their area. They're trying to digitize everything, get everyone on apps and not having real face-to-face experiences. So that's the conflict at the heart of the show.
Right. What prompted you to come up with something like that? Besides the obvious.
So it started a long time ago where a group of us were staying up late at night, laughing, mucking around, and we were reading a book of cartoon animals. And um, one of the things we noticed as we were flicking through is all the cartoon animals, they seem to end up with superhero fighting abilities. And why is it always those type of abilities? So we thought, well, why not jazz? And then why is it always a particular kind of animal? Why not a cow? So that was the initial conversation, and we were all laughing and thought it was really funny. And then next morning we were like, actually, there's something in this. So one of the guys, he did some drawings and it kind of developed out of that silly conversation.
Interesting. Do you mind if I share the main page for Jazz Cow?
Yeah, go for
And
it.
then I was going to ask you, I told you before we started recording, oh, share is easy on this new Zoom layout. Famous last words. Here it is. Okay.
I always get security issues when I do
Yeah,
anything.
yeah. This is the main page for jazzcow.co.uk for those who want to, are listening that want to visit it. There'll also be a link to it in the show notes. Jazzcow, J-A-Z-Z cow.co.uk. So where is this? Is this the only place it's broadcasted? Or how is this distributed to your audience?
Yeah, so this is we've got um we've got this page which is, if you like, the epicenter. So you've got links to all the social media, to the Substack, and a link to the Kickstarter page. So at the moment we're aiming to build its profile so we can raise money on Kickstarter in September and um then fund and make a pilot. So that's where we're aiming at the moment.
Very good. And has it been received so far?
It's striking a chord. I
Hmm.
think it really does feel like as we're at a time where people are they're fed up with the encroachment of tech and how everyone's just plugged in and we're not really we're sacrificing the most important things for things that are less important. So I think it's hitting a nerve. And where when we first kind of started pushing this around, it didn't hit the nerve it does today. So it seems to be now now is a very much what it says, the time for jazz cows now in front of me.
Yeah.
So yeah, it feels that way.
It's it's probably a common way of looking at things. It does seem like there's an encroachment on technology in your personal life and your interactions with other people. You know, you're texting more than you're actually physically talking to somebody right in front of you. So I understand that, and the time is right, John. Uh, so give us a little bit about the storyline. Like how do they deal with the encroachment without giving up too much of the storyline?
Yeah, so there's a basic thing that they're doing two things. They're trying to preserve their world, and so it's all the different things that are they do to try to make it work. And then they've got a mission to kind of, if you like, convert pop world. So they're doing things like teaching kids instruments and um trying to doing crazy missions. But the actual pilot episode that we're trying to get off the ground is a heist. So Jazz Cow's sax gets stolen, and it's the heist to get it back, getting through all the top high technology and smashing through all the codes and doing that. They're doing it the lo-fi way because that's all they know how to do.
Hmm.
So that's the episode we're trying to do is the heist.
How do you do your animation? I'm just curious.
So most of my, if you like, my day job is doing animation, which I use a program called Toon Boom Harmony, which is a 2D animation software, but you've got, if you like, puppets, so different parts, the head, the body, the legs.
Right.
And so you draw all those things, then you kind of create a skeleton. And that's usually the way I work. There are a few other ways I do. But for Jazz Cow, we'll be working with a whole team in Argentina, and um, I don't really mind how they achieve it as long as they get to the end. And
Right.
we've worked with them before, and they're great. So, um, yeah, I think they're more traditional actually, the way they do a lot of stuff, which is great.
Yeah, the animation, well, the illustration, I should say, from your webpage is very interesting. It seems to be well developed. How many characters are involved, give or take?
So you've got Jazz Cow, Dr. Pop, his nemesis, his manager Denzel, and then you've got Pooper Scooper Thompson, who's his bass player. You've got Papa Moose Brown um, on drums, and then you've got Pudding Face Cedric on keys. Then you've got Connie, who owns the club, and you've got Valentina, who's the singer in the band. And there are other characters like Victoria Stickler, who's the mayor of Pop World. Um, but they're the main ones I've mentioned.
I'm too enticed to ask you who Doctor Pop, or is it Poop?
Pop, but
Who does
it's
he
deliberately
represent?
written in such a way that you people will sometimes read it as poop.
And
Our childish humor.
without putting you out on a limb, does he represent anyone in real life?
No specific person. So nothing in this show is designed to be directly paralleling anything in the world, but
Hmm.
it parallels everything. It's kind of a, if you like, a condensing of the world into things. So he's a bit like Mark Zuckerberg. He's a bit like Bill Gates. He's a bit like Steve Jobs. He's a bit like Elon Musk. Like all these kind of characters.
Right,
Jeff Bezos is that kind of person who is the technocrat who wants the world in their image, and they use technology to do that. So,
right. Well, I had a feeling. Um, how many people are involved in this project besides yourself?
so there's obviously me. There's James Carey, who's a BBC scriptwriter, written lots of sitcoms. We've got a guy called Celom, who is a character designer, who's worked on a lot of animated shows. We've got a guy called Eric, who's a storyboard expert, who's more of a consultant, but he's worked on everything for Animaniacs, Rick and Morty. He's just been in the industry for many years and done so many things. Um, then we've got our team of musicians, we've got our team of actors. So we've got, yeah, it's a lot of people.
I was going to ask you about the music.
Mm.
Is it all original songs?
Yeah,
And,
so oh, sorry.
no, I was just going to ask you who composes it. That's.
Yeah, so that's quite exciting. So we've got um so this guy who's manages um thousands of jazz musicians in the UK, and the UK jazz scene is actually really thriving. There's a lot of stuff going on. and he manages a load of these guys. So we've got quite an exciting team of different jazz musicians who are working on this, and it'll all be original when we make the thing. So
Nice. Yeah.
that'd be
And
really exciting. And trying to use the music almost like a character within it. So um really trying to find creative ways to make the music
right.
um more interesting than
Is it
just
like a Cuphead thing? Are you familiar with Cuphead?
I love Cuphead.
Yeah.
It's so Cuphead is the kind of it's much more set in the kind of jazz age 1920s, where this is probably more 40s 50s aesthetic, but it does just cross the whole era. So um there'll be lots of different musical influences, but yeah, Cuphead is extraordinary.
Which makes me think. I know you're looking to get this on like a TV or a,
Yeah, so this was pitched around streaming services a couple of years ago, and
mhm.
the response we got back from all of them was if it was a comic or a book that was successful, then we'd be interested, but we're not interested in original stuff. So um that's why there isn't
Who told
original
you that,
stuff out
Doctor
there.
Pop? Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. That's the
Well,
world we're living in.
I know. And we were talking about Cuphead. Can you see this being like a video game too?
I know no, so it's interesting. I know nothing about games, and I know a lot of the audience for this stuff are gamers, and it's just a world that growing up, we never really had any money for computer games.
Mm.
And I remember buying a computer for £10 at a jumble sale, which was like many, many years old when I got it. And then by the time we did have a computer, I was already older and interested in other things. So I never really got into gaming. But yeah, I'm all for spin-offs.
Sure, why not? Yeah. But you were talking about the team involved, and that made me think. You have a site. Can you see this page? Quirky
Yes.
Motion. Quirky Motion, which is I think a phenomenal concept. Essentially, uh, this is the animation and illustration part of the effort behind Jazz Cow, but you also offer this as a service to folks.
Yeah, so this is my company, which I run with my brother, and we've been running for about 18 years, I think. I
Hmm.
keep saying 18 when people ask, and I'm never actually checked.
That's a
Um,
good thing to say. Even 30 years from now, just say 18.
yeah. Um, yeah, so we've done work for huge ranges of different people, from tiny companies right up to massive organizations like BBC. And um yeah, we do all sorts of different things. Um, some of it more boring and some of it more interesting. You
So
do
if
what you
somebody has a story that they want to make an animation out of, or I don't want to say a cartoon, or an
Yeah,
animation of something that they've written, they'd come to you, and then you would illustrate essentially the story.
we have done that. We not very often. We've done that a few times. Most of the time, it's a business that wants to communicate something, and we'll try and take their message and try to storify it, if that's a real word,
Hmm.
um, and make it into something to promote what they're doing. So that's usually the way it works.
I see. Do you deal
Um,
in commercials?
yeah, sometimes.
Mhm.
Yes,
Yeah,
commercials, explainer, videos, just promotion stuff, usually.
yeah. I think that's a great idea, a great concept. Did you come up with the concept behind it, or?
Yeah, so uh, many years ago, there were my brother, and another guy. We were, oh, something's gone wrong with that page. Oh
Yeah,
dear.
it looks like it could be my computer, but
I hope it's your computer.
because
Otherwise,
it
it's
looks like
another
the
job for me
layout
to do.
is not. Yeah,
Yeah, it's broken.
yeah.
Oh dear. Um,
Let me try the illustration page. Yeah, that's the same way. But I wanted to
oh,
give folks an idea of what the illustrations look like. Yeah, look
and
into
you
that, John.
Yeah, you've helped me. You've given me a job to do tomorrow, which I didn't want to do, but
Yeah, I know it's
um,
late at night over there in London. You're in London, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, it's frustrating, but that's life. And yeah, so the three of us were freelancing, doing stuff for different companies, and there was a chance to pitch to do a music video, so we did that, and then we did another music video, and we thought, oh yeah, we're good at this. We're good at this whole business thing. And then work went dead, and we didn't know what to do.
Ah,
And so then we started trying to figure out how to do things, and that was yeah.
two things that I was going to ask you. How did COVID affect your business, and how did the writer's strike affect your business, if at all?
So COVID things went dead, and the crazy thing is we would have been able to have done a lot of work because so much of our stuff we could have done from a computer at home. But companies just got nervous, so they stopped spending money.
Hmm.
And then as soon as things opened up, we were ridiculously busy. And then after that really busy time, we went the quietest we'd been for years. So it was a and it's still not picked up. And the writer's strike, it affected a lot of people I know, so it must have meant that there was a it must have had an indirect effect because a lot of people I know were suffering from it, but I don't think it affected us in a direct way. Um,
Hmm.
but it's really hard to know because you don't know what your the reasons things aren't coming through the door.
Yeah. I got to keep reminding myself that a lot of people listen to this podcast, the audio portion and not the video portion. We're on a site. His company is called Quirky Motion, and the site is quirkymotion.com. And I'm looking at this guy looks familiar here, John.
Yeah, that's me. That's what I look like. About 3 weeks ago, that's what I look like,
Oh,
but
really?
I've trimmed it down. Yeah.
Oh, like the King of England himself, you know. Yeah. So there's a wide variety. So, do, do, if someone has a specific project, do you try to match that up with a specific illustrator, someone who illustrates in a specific style? Like, how does
So
that work?
most of these are actually by me,
Okay.
and um, but not all of them. And usually I hear, or we will find out what their brief is, what they're trying to achieve, and we really want to make sure the story, the look, the feel are really shaped around who the person is and what they're
Hmm.
doing. So we don't want to have any cookie cutter kind of thing. We really want to make sure it's really tailored for the needs. So yeah,
You could change your style to fit that. Like you have
yeah,
a variety of styles you can turn to.
yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Because some of them, like the one we're looking at now, again, I apologize to those listening to us, but looks almost realistic. A street scene that I'm looking at on the right here, bus stop. Yeah.
Yeah, I aimed to. So the interesting with that project, I aimed for a little bit of realism because it was for local government and it was a specific area of London that they were serving.
Ah.
So it needed to feel like it was from that area, but I wanted to have a kind of painterly quality because it was a story about children,
Hmm.
and I yeah, I used quite a lot of um I used a very specific color scheme to try and hold the whole thing together.
Gotcha. If I can go back to Jazz Cow for a second now,
Yeah.
where are we in terms of the stages of development in Jazz Cow? Is there an animation? Is there anything animated?
There are little clips animated, and there's a little film that I will put with Kickstarter that's got lots of little animated clips on, and I'm
I
waiting
do
for
see
some.
one on the bottom there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually the old design. So the cow design has actually developed since then, but I wanted to have something moving, so
Okay.
I kept that in. But yeah, we've got some clips ready to go, and there's a few things on our Instagram, but there's not much.
Mm,
I'm waiting for music to be sorted out on something. So
I see. So, and who does the vocals? Like each character is there speaking in the characters?
yeah, so we've got So for some of the samples, we've recorded some people. So there's a guy called uh Nico Neal who's playing the voice of Jazz Cow, and you there are recordings where little clips of him saying things like "Join the Resistance." Um, but we've got a whole team of actors that we've got ready to go when we launch. So that's exciting. There's some good people. And it's going to be really funny getting them all in a room together because
Yeah.
they're all funny in their own right.
So right now you're on the storyboard stage and the illustration, like stills stage. Is
Yeah,
that the
so
right way to say it?
we've got an outline script,
Hmm.
which would need some extra drafts. We've got characters, all the main characters designed, all the locations designed, and I'm slowly kind of leaking those out to the public so we can keep a kind of showing people stuff. And and so we've got all the design, story, um, actors lined up, musicians lined up. So it's really just money to go to the next stage.
They're all sitting around waiting by the telephone for you to call them, John.
Yeah, I hope not. I hope they're busy doing something else with their time.
So there is a spot on his site, jazzcow.co.uk, where you can put your just subscribe to his news feed, which I guess will let people know the progress of the project as it moves along.
Yes,
Yeah.
there's that, and then there's the notify me on launch as well. So if you want to be notified when we launch, but you don't want to read anything between now and then, click notify when launch. If you want to see the newsletter and have a few updates when I get around to them, you can see that too.
Well, true to the premise of Jazz Cow, it's a non-pressure thing. If you throw your email address in there, you won't get bombarded. Yeah.
You won't, because I'm never going to get around to it.
That's a great way to, to admit that. But so in the past, you've done some films, like anything big. Like I could see some YouTube or Vimeo clips from
Yeah.
here. Yeah.
So none of them are particularly famous.
Hmm.
So the still I could see at the top was from a short film that we did that we actually got the money from winning a competition, made the short film. It went around lots of festivals. Um, and yeah, we were hoping to get various things off the back of it, which didn't happen, but that's life. But yeah,
Hmm.
we've
Hmm.
um always try to keep, although we do the stuff that earns us the money, which is the usually stuff for businesses and local government charities and things. We always
Right.
try to keep doing the entertainment stuff on alongside that. So yeah, because that's the kind of, if you like, the heartbeat. Um,
Gotcha. Gotta pay that rent too.
exactly.
Have you done any work in the States, or do you plan to?
We've
Here it.
done so we've done work for American companies.
Hmm.
So actually during COVID, there was a American company that was going to shoot in Oxford, and my brother then ended up doing that job for them
Hmm.
in the UK, and they were over Skype or Zoom or whatever saying, "Oh, can you do this? Can you do that?" So it was a little strange, but yeah, working for an American company that way, we and I some a couple of these projects actually have been for American companies, but we've not worked on American soil
Yet,
yet.
yet. Yeah, we'll get you over here. Yeah. So that's a great idea. I do like the concept of, even if you're a uh, film company and you need some animation in your film, or you're making a documentary, you need a little snippet, they'll come to you and you'll fabricate something for them to use.
Yes.
That's a great
I was
idea. Yeah.
I was nodding and then I just realized this is audio as well.
What's that again?
I was nodding and I realized that doesn't work with audio.
Yeah, well, um, I constantly have to do that myself. So in September, where do you think you'll be in September when you start doing the promotion for funding?
So yeah, hopefully in September. So we'll run our promotion for a month, and I'm obviously hope I'll be successful. And if we're successful, then my Gantt chart that I've set up with all the different things will come into play, and it'll be like, right, now we're doing this, doing this, doing this, doing this, and
Hmm. Hmm.
um, yeah. So the first thing will be refining the script and doing storyboards and just working through that over and over again. So that's
Right.
the
How does that work when you need to have the product to raise the funds? Like, how do you pay for the product to be produced prior to that? It's like a catch-22 almost.
yeah, it's so difficult because people often say, "Oh, I need to see this, I need to see that," and it's like, well, we can't afford it. We're too poor.
Mm-hmm.
So we're trying to use as many of the imagery. We've got a lot of loads of images, um loads of things about the concept, about the world. So we're introducing people to that. And yeah, the more we introduce that kind of thing, hopefully that will get people interested. So then when we do launch, we can keep and we'll have hopefully have enough interesting rewards for people to get, and hopefully we can get over that line.
Right.
That's the aim anyway.
What would be a good target, like the BBC? I don't know how that works over there, but
So really, if we can make this pilot, then the guy that took it around streaming services, he'll have another go. We'll try to open as many doors. I'll go to some animation festivals, try and just get meetings with different broadcasters and streaming services. And I have more hope on streaming services than something like the BBC, just because um the BBC don't commission that much, and they
mhm,
don't really commission this kind of thing.
mhm.
But there's no reason to say they shouldn't. So
Hmm.
maybe it's what they'll be looking for. But yeah,
Yeah, if it's big and lumbering corporation like that, they might not be willing to take a risk either.
well,
But
that's our
right,
aim of making the pilot. So it
yeah,
slightly takes away the risk because they can just see it and go, oh yeah, this is fun, and look, it's got an audience. And
yeah, yeah. So, yeah, and I'm dealing from a ignorant pedestrian outlook on things. How does somebody get in touch with you if they wanted to help finance the thing?
so yeah, send me an email. I'm on all the different social networks, and anyone can send me a private message.
Hmm.
You can email me through Quirky Motion. My email address is john@quirkymotion.com.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm very findable.
Hmm.
Probably
So
too findable sometimes, but
if
that's not a
someone
problem. If they've got
like
money, then I like to be findable.
well, if like I was saying, if somewhere between now and September, if someone happens to see this, for example, or maybe another podcast you're on, and loves the concept behind it and likes you know, the illustrations that they're looking at, you might not need a crowdfunder. You might just have a guy that is very generous and is in love with your project, or a
That would be
girl.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
But
don't run into those people very often or ever. So
well, John at quirkymotion.com.
yeah, if the rich person sitting there that's very generous, email me.
Yeah, I don't know the demographics of the people that listen to our podcast, but you never know, you know. So I appreciate you taking the time. I don't want to take up too much time because I know it's late at night over there in the UK. The sun is still shining here in New York, so
That's good. Enjoy the sun.
yeah. Um, but I'd like to keep in touch with you if it's possible, and when
Yeah,
we get down to the nitty gritty, if you don't mind me saying that, when it comes time to get this out there for people to think about funding, reach out to me. I'd like to have you back on, and we'll see the progress as you move along.
thank you.
Yeah.
Really appreciate that.
So in the meantime, I appreciate you being on, John Lumgair from London, England, and the name of the project is Jazz Cow, and you can find all you really need to know about it right now at jazzcow.co.uk, and check out his company, which is Quirky Motion. And you'll fix that site there, John, huh?
Yeah, that's one of those jobs that I didn't want to have to do.
quirkymotion.com. Thank you again, John, for being on the air with us tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, we'll see you further on up the road, okay?